Hey lovelies, it's Heather. Let's see. Maybe you can hear me if I pick it up. Because I noticed the other video that I shot in my bed with the phone down, it didn't pick up sound too well. Which, I mean, that happens when you're covering the microphone. But, yeah, I'm just sitting here and I'm like getting really depressed on myself and in my life right about now because it's like I miss my kids so friggin' much, for starters. And then it's like back on the bullshit, if you will, because it's been over a year, but back on the stuff dealing with EJ. It's like the festival that we went to tonight, or this, however you want to word it, last night, because it's already morning hours. St. Patrick's Day. That's when EJ was willing to spend the day with me and talk to me about things, but that's when I was on visitation with my daughter last year, and I was so wrapped up in EJ and the stuff going on with her that I didn't even realize it was St. Patrick's Day until I got to the visitation, and my daughter and my two nieces were wearing green. And then me and EJ were fighting the whole time in text messages. And there at the last, 30 minutes of my visitation, I just lost my shit. And, had to go to the bathroom and, started crying really bad and everything. And, I don't know. It's like, how you do stuff that supposedly tortures the self, and everything. And it's like you try to move on, but you keep going back to it or whatever. And it's like, most people's like, it's because, it's an addiction, it's something bad or whatever, and an infatuation or whatever and stuff. But it's like, no, it's like, there's a song, anyways. There's a song I was listening to that I got on one of my playlists on here. It's talking about, I don't even want to say what the song is. You can look it up, but anyways, if I say what I'm going to say, though, you know exactly what song it is. But either way, your arms feel like home. And it's like, it's exactly how I feel with EJ. And then for her to abandon me, I guess is the best way to word it, just disappear and shut me out of her life. And I feel that way about her. It's like, imagine finding the best thing that you've found in a long time or ever found. And for as far as selfishness, I guess you'd say, and all about you and the way that you feel, which I know that sounds very narcissistic, but it is what it is. But it's like, it's dealing with love, and acceptance. And even though it's like, oh, I'm a selfish piece of shit, supposedly, that, fuck, I'm not gonna cry. But, it's like we could have remained just friends. We really could have. And it's like, here we go again with nobody ever listening to me. Nobody ever listens to me. Or they'll listen, but then they don't talk back. And then when they don't talk back and they're not open, that's when everything crumbles. Because it's like, the night before the quote, end quote, the incident, if you will, between me and her that pissed her off towards me and everything. I had told her like the week prior or weeks prior that like we didn't have a problem, you know, and that it would be okay and that she could still trust me, you know, even though I was crushing on her. And she could. But when she took my hand that night and I didn't know how to properly read that gesture because she kept holding my hand the whole entire ride to her house, and she has a straight shift, so she has to shift gears, you know, and like her stick shift, straight shift, whatever. Anyway, stick shift. But she yeah, keeps having to switch gears, and she keeps reaching over and taking my hand. And then when I kissed the top of her hand, I figured she knew what that meant. I figured she knew that that was me signaling like how much I really did like her, and that I even liked her more than I could process, I guess. And then she offered to let me sleep in her bed. When I asked, I did ask, I said, do you mind if I sleep in here tonight? And she's like, no, that's fine. And I wish to God she wouldn't have said it was fine. Because I feel like if she wouldn't have said it was fine, I would have slept on the couch and we would still be friends. God, I fucking hate my life sometimes. On a positive note, just random, my dogs love me. It's like I was gone from like 11, I think, or somewhere around there this morning, or 10, and I didn't make it back till like 8:30. And so my dogs were in the bedroom for 10.5 hours. And I got home, and they haven't made like a huge mess or anything. And I let them out. And I literally sat in the living room with them for like 30 minutes. And then I came back here. And then they slowly came, because the bedroom door's open. They slowly crept in here. And I went to sleep after making my video earlier. And I woke up and they're both laying on the bed with me. They're curled up and they're just sleeping. And it's like, I was just like shit when I woke up, and I was like, my dogs really love me. Because they could go sit in the living room. They could go play in the living room. They could go have free time. You know, they've been shut up in the bedroom all day long. But because I'm in here, they want to be with me. And that's really nice. It's really fucking nice. And that regardless of themselves and their own selfishness that they could have, because they're capable of it, like any living thing, they chose, or they find their happiness in being near me. And that's saying a lot, concluding, that I'm human and I'm flawed and I'm not perfect. And sometimes I'm a huge, kind of emotional, sappy piece of shit mess. But they find their happiness in being near me. And it's not a forced happiness. It's not a them trying to get something. They're not begging me for food. They're not begging me for water. They're not disturbing my sleep. They're just wanting to be near me. And I have not had that a lot in my life. I guess I've kind of always had people that are kind of taking advantage of me, manipulating situations. And it's like, so it's my pets or my kid that's not, and my nieces that's not, done that manipulation shit to me at all in any sense or any form. And then, like, even dealing with EJ, sometimes I feel like she caused all this just to stir up some attention because she was attention starved. And so, because she's the one that made the conversation between me and her, like the bickering on Facebook, and then she tried to put it on me, and no, it don't work like that. Like, that's the way my husband was, like, he did that to me, he tried to make everything my fault, he took no responsibility for his actions whatsoever. And that's pretty much, to a smaller, lesser degree, what EJ's done to me. And then, I guess I shouldn't love her, but I do, because I guess I'm fucked up. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me. And it's like there's a part of my mind that wants to be like, Heather, you're just used to the abuse. That's the reason you take it. And that's like even Jen, when she said to me one night, she said, why do you put up with me? Why do you tolerate me? Why do you put up with me? And I just sit there and kind of looked at her, And it's like part of me wants to be like, because I love you, But then another part of me doesn't want to be like that, because I don't want her to take it as a romantic type love, because it's not. But it's like, I really care for her, And she told me before that she took the borderline personality test quiz online, and that it came back, that she pretty much kind of is, or is in the field of, or something, or I don't know. And, like, just like with anything, everybody's got their own stuff, and that's the thing, too, is like, I comment quite a bit, or I used to, but not so much now, because she is, but then she's not. It's like, one of those things where it's like a toss-up, but it's like she reminds me of my cousin Misty in certain ways. And my cousin Misty had a lot of stuff going on, and my cousin Misty used to kind of be the same with me, kind of like, she always felt acceptance by me, and even though I tolerated some not so nice behavior from her, it was nowhere near as bad as what I've been through from people that genuinely were trying to go out of their way and hurt my feelings, I guess is the best way to say it. And so anyways, so Jen, she's Jen, she just is who she is, and I accept her for who she is. And so just like tonight when she's like, I'll go order your drink for you if you're afraid to talk to the bartender, like, there's a little part of me on the inside that was kind of like laughing, like a little devilish side of me that was like, you don't get it at all, do you? like I'm not afraid to talk to a bartender. It's just, I've never been inside of a bar to hang out inside of one, and like there's a certain way that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I don't have it set in my mind, and even though it's not like perfect and it's not set in stone, I'm not somebody that's so much of a opportunist on certain aspects of my life that I'm just like, hey, this'll work, And so today, for as far as sitting in a bar and drinking, it was not optimal, I guess is the best way to word it for me. And, what is it, conducive or whatever, I don't know. Anyways, like dealing just with me and my behavior. It's like I'm an ambivert, so I'm introverted and I'm extroverted, and it just comes and goes when it wants to a degree, but then again not. But it's just, I have a certain way that I go about living my life, and then here I am, I'm with my friend, I'm kind of helping her watch her kid, and at first I was thinking, I can drink, and like, it's gonna be good, and it'll be alright, and then I'm like, yeah, but I can't drink until it gets closer for it being over, like the festival, and instead, Jen ended up drinking. So, I was taking note of it, I guess you could say, and it's like, I'm gonna be the designated driver, it's like, the thought was kind of done rambling in the back of my head, but I wasn't certain, but next thing I know, she's like, yeah, you're driving us home tonight, and I was like, okay. And then I teased her about it, and I was like, I was like, yeah, you just, told me out of the blue, that I'm driving us home. But, anyways. But, I don't know. And even thinking about that borderline personality disorder test that they got online. I know it's just an online test, but still, it gives you a basis to kind of compare things and shit. And I took it, and luckily enough, and I say that with sarcasm, it confirmed the same shit that the counselor that I was going to did. And it's like, you have PTSD. It's like, fuck. And it's like, you mean to tell me that I wish that I wish that the shit that I didn't live through, I wish so bad. I wish so bad. Fuck. Oh God, I wish so bad. But it did happen, and it has happened, and it does happen. And then I still have to deal with my hillbilly redneck, like, just dysfunctional to the bone, to the core of everything about them family. And it's like, I just want my kid back. I just want my kid back so fucking bad. And then my kid don't understand it. I mean, it's like, I knew I was depressed. Like, I knew that a long time ago. And I thought a little about the PTSD, but I never... And I honestly thought about the borderline personality disorder. Because I had somebody in the comments on one of my videos one day just be like, that's what's wrong with you. And like they wrote it real hateful because it just was like, you know what's wrong with you? This is what's wrong with you. You have borderline personality disorder. And it's like, it's somebody that's very angry for the way that they wrote it, you know? And I'm just like, who the fuck are you and what the fuck is your goddamn problem, you know? And it's like, then even at that, you know, it's like people that watch my videos that they don't know me that well, they'll be like, oh, well, you went to one counselor and one counselor told you it was depression and PTSD and you need a second opinion. Okay, sweet child. You know, okay, sweet child. When I was 15, my parents almost got divorced. We went to a family counselor. We all sat down as a family. We all sat down as individuals. We all sat down as a family again. We didn't get to sit down as individuals or we didn't actually technically sit down as individuals. We sat down, and I think he had our parents leave the room, and it was just me and my sister together. And then he asked us a few questions, and then he pulled my parents back in, and then he asked them a few questions in front of us because he had a session or two with my parents prior to calling us in. And we are sitting there, and he literally tells my dad that my dad is bipolar. And that's the reason my dad, if you ever meet him, and if anybody ever asks him, what's wrong with Heather? He's going to say that I'm bipolar. Because he can't accept that he's bipolar. And neither can the family. They're just like, oh, he's diabetic and thyroid problems. That's what's wrong with him. But then my grandmother called me, what was it? It was when I moved out. It was probably about 8 months into my first year lease. So this would be almost 3 years ago. And we talked one day because she had talked to Mom. And everybody was talking about, like, Dad and how, like, he was just, you know, and, like, I've been asked before if I would sign. I've been asked before by my mother, by my aunt once, and by my grandmother a few times. But it's always been with, like, because nothing is serious to them. Like, I don't know. And anything that is serious, they shut it out. It's like you can't talk about death, you can't talk about feelings, you can't talk about emotions, you can't talk about anything that you feel is real or that you're really going through, or you can't talk about it in depth. It all has to be swept up under the rug. And so they have to come at everything with a joking, but still, even when they have, I'm always the one that has been serious. And that's the reason I feel like I'm the glue of the family, and all kinds of shit. Just shit upon fucking shit. But anyways. Damn. It's like, can I die yet? But, anyway, so it's all this just bullshit. And I've been asked a few times if I would sign to have my father or my uncle committed to find out what's wrong with them. But then I've also been told by the same people that asked me that pretty much that I'm going to be locked up, or not that I'm going to be locked up necessarily, but just flat out in their opinion that I'm crazy, or that I don't live in reality, or that, what is it, something else. And yet these are the same people that, for instance, like right now, I have my license, and my grandmother said to me, well, hey, I remember, how did your kid get to school when you lived down here the first time? Because the first time that I lived down here, well, not the first time, that's right, because she wasn't in school yet. The second time, so this last time, before now, that I lived here, the bus wouldn't come out as far as where we live. and it just fucking refused to. And so, because there wasn't enough kids and turn around, and I think they were doing some road construction. But anyways, so I just told my dad flat out, I was like, give me the damn truck. And he's like, why? And I'm like, so my kid can go to school, because the bus ain't gonna come out this far. And he, like, kind of didn't listen to me, and so I had to get my grandmother, because it's her truck that he uses, and kind of put her foot down and be like, no, you got to give her the truck, that way Ava can go to school. And so I had to drive my daughter, and my grandmother and my daughter both, like, I was like, I can just drive you to school. And my kid also, not just because she was concerned, because my grandmother harped on the concern of me driving, but my kid was like, I like riding the bus in the morning, though, because my friends. So I literally had to drive just like not even a half of a mile down the road or whatever, so that way she could get on the bus. And I did that for, like, I don't know how long, like a week or two, I guess, or maybe longer. It might have been a few months, actually. But we had the truck down here, I know, at least for a week or two. That way I could drive her down there. I think it was only a week or two, and I think the rest of the time I walked her. Because it was so cold that first little bit when they, like, refused to drive the bus down or something. I don't know. But anyway, so my grandmother's sitting here, like, one day just a few days ago, and, she's like, you can drive, can't you? And I'm like, yes, I can. And she's like, because I remember you drove the truck, and I remember that. And I'm like, yeah, and she's like, well, and it's like, well, back to her, because what she's getting at is like, well, why haven't you had your license yet? Well, why hasn't nobody in the family gave a shit to help me get my license yet? That, like, that's all it took, was somebody caring. And then, like I said, dealing with Jennifer and everything, Jennifer cared. Jennifer cared. That's just like my cousin Misty. And like I said, Jennifer reminds me of my cousin Misty. And Misty had all these issues and stuff and everything, but still, who cared to teach me how to tie my shoes? My cousin Misty. So what do you do when you come from a fucked up family? But, anyways, I don't think I even finished talking about the borderline personality test. Yeah, I did. Okay, I took it, and it come back that I have PTSD. And then if somebody sees this and they're like, oh, that's what's wrong with you. I went to counseling, and yes, I have depression, and yes, I have PTSD. And I mean, it is what it is. But we went to counseling when I was 15 because my parents were getting separated. And after talking to the counselor, our one session that we had together as a family, we might have had a second session. The counselor literally, right in front of all of us, in front of me and my sister, just barks out at my parents and says, you're screwing up these kids. You're screwing them up. And then I went to counseling later on when I was 15 by myself, and my mom tried to use it as the narcissistic way of, like, manipulation to show how horrible it was being with my father, because they were in the middle of separation, and it's like, oh, it devastated my child so much. No, my life before then devastated me so much, Mom. My life before all of that. And I was actually happy when my parents were fixing to get separated, because even though my mom, oh my God, this is just another bullshit story of my childhood. My parents got separated. My mom got my dad kicked out of the house. My dad even went to jail because he broke the restraining order. He spent the night in jail. So he's having to live out away from us. And on my 15th birthday, as a matter of fact, I got to spend 4 hours or longer talking to my dad, telling him to not kill himself, because he's telling me that he is sitting in his apartment bedroom with a loaded gun in his lap. Happy 15th birthday. Woohoo. And the counseling was after when they tried to get back together. So this is all when I'm 15. And then, not to mention, but yeah, we'll go ahead and mention Steven's suicide. So all this shit's happening around the same damn time. Fuck, my nose is running. But, But anyways, so I went to 2 counselors. One was covered by our insurance that I was on at the time, or my parents' insurance, well, my dad's, because he still had to have insurance on us. And we go in there, and it's some guy, and I feel like creeped out just being there. Like, I don't like him. I want to find another counselor. And the only other counselors that are there that, you know, I can go to or whatever, like, they're all booked, you know. And it's going to take like a month or 2 or longer for me to have somebody to talk to. So I tell my mom, you know, I'm like, I don't like him. And at first she's like, oh, just get used to him, you know. So I go back for a second thing. And in that second appointment, he starts digging. And the thing is you don't have to dig a lot if I'm going for counseling. You don't have to dig a lot with me. I am as straightforward, you know, as I can be, you know, and as I am. And so I told him, you know, the first appointment about all the abuse and stuff, you know, and then I told him the second appointment about all the abuse and stuff. But I got more into it. And he pretty much kind of got onto my mom, you know, slightly. Didn't really get onto her, but she done knew where it was going, you know, and like, because I went to go leave that day, and he's like, you know, come here for a second, and he's like, you know, she really needs a lot of counseling because y'all have really, I think he said something along the lines of like, y'all have really done a horrible parenting job, or something like that. And when we got in the car from leaving there, my mom was just like, I don't like him. I don't think you should go back to him. And I thought, because he's digging, and you don't like him digging, you know. And I was just like, okay, because I still didn't really like him that much either. And she's like, I guess we'll take you someplace else. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, but this is the only place you said that's covered by insurance. And she's like, well, your dad can pay for it for as far as I'm concerned, because it's all him. She's trying to put all the blame for my whole entire raising, you know, on him, you know. And so I went to this other counselor, and I went in there and I talked to them maybe 2 or 3 times. 3 times. Yeah, I talked to them 3 times. The first time, you know, I was nervous and everything because blurting everything out to that first counselor, and then that reaction, and I was like, oh God, I have to mention, you know, to them, and how am I going to mention this to them when I'm a child? And children are seen in such a light that it's like, oh, you're a dumbass, and you're just gonna lie about shit because you're just trying to manipulate because you're a selfish child. That's the way that most people view children. And, so the first session or whatever with this new counselor, and it was a woman, I was just like, you know, kind of like I can't trust nobody and I can't talk about things. And she's like, yes, you can. You know, this is a safe place and all that and everything. And I'm like, you don't understand. So then I told her about how my mom was with the previous counselor, whenever the previous counselor threw off on my mom's parenting. And then my mom all of a sudden didn't like him because after the first appointment with him, my mom was pushing me. You know, she's like, oh, well, just get over it, get used to it. Just keep going to him. Oh, well, it's going to take time to get used to him and like him and, and all that and everything. Second appointment, he throws off on her parenting, and now she don't like him, and now I can't go to him anymore. But I was okay with it because I still kind of just didn't feel right around him anyway. Like, I didn't feel completely comfortable. But, so this next counselor at another place called the Christian Counseling Center, it's a woman, and I sat down and I talk with her and I tell her that, and then she's like, oh, okay, I get it. Oh, okay, I see, And then the second appointment, and even the first appointment, like, she called my mom in like the last 5 minutes and we sat and talked, I do believe, or something along that lines, or maybe it wasn't, maybe my memory's a little, but still, I know at one point in time both of us were in there, and she saw how my mom kept interrupting everything I was saying, and especially when I would try to talk about the abuse from my dad, she would just cut me off. And the counselor started looking like she was getting pissed off. And so the third appointment that I went into or whatever, and I'm young, so I'm 15, and the counselor, instead of talking about all the trauma in huge depth like I was trying to, she pretty much was just trying to get me to focus on myself, on my own emotions, and all that, and how I could tolerate and this and that and stuff. And I didn't understand why she was wanting to talk so much about me. And I even brought that up to her. I remember I was like, why are you talking so much about me? And she's like, because you have to take care of yourself, and you have to learn to respect yourself, and you have to learn to go with the emotions that you're feeling instead of hiding the emotions that you feel, pretty much being a people pleaser, because I was raised by narcissists and stuff like that. And I just got really kind of irritated, I remember, with her. But then I got over it because my session was like 45 minutes or 30 or hour long or something. And but I remember like the look, of like when she got it with my mom and my mom cutting her off and all this and everything. And I thought, oh boy, she sees that there's a problem that's deeper than me. And that's the thing, is like she was separating me as an individual from my family. It's like, well, yeah, your family does fucked up shit. Fuck them, to a degree. I mean, she didn't say that, but it's like, your family does fucked up shit. Fuck them. Don't worry about them. Worry about you. Worry about how you feel. But the thing is since I hold family to such high regards, as most people do, since I do that and everything, then it's just really fucked up my mind, kinda, and stuff, on things, to a degree. Or not necessarily my mind. My mind is here. My mind just has to stay in a fog. That way I'm not constantly crying 24/7. So it's just really fucked up my heart, I guess. I have trust issues like crazy. And yet, I still, when I get to know somebody or meet somebody or something, instead of tiptoeing into trusting them, I push myself at least to a full 80% to trust them regardless. Because I know if I don't give the opportunity, then there's no way in hell that I'm going to even have the life that I have. And I'm going to end up being like a recluse that sits here and like rocking on the bed, sucking my thumb, and, like just completely shot the fuck out, like. So it's like, no, it's like, push yourself to trust people. And then, because the world is so shitty, I usually end up getting hurt a lot, really bad anyway. But that last 20%, and especially that last 10 and that last 5, if you will, I don't think anybody gets that. Or, well, they get close, some of them do, but... And see, that's the thing, is like, I guess, kind of with, the 5 people that I've picked in my life that I like and I would like to date and get to know, is I trust them more than I do others. And it's like, my own kid doesn't have the last 2 or 3% of 100% of my trust. Like, she only has, like, 97, 98% of, like, full on trust. And she'll always be there. She'll always be at the most. But I can't trust anybody 100%. Except for God. And that's the way it's always going to be. And that's the way, in all honesty, it should be. Because if you give somebody 100% of your trust, then they are going to let you down. And it is going to fuck you up. It's okay, Una. It's okay. But, sorry, my dog, I think, starting to have a nightmare. But anyways. So I've been to other counselors. Like, and granted, I didn't see them that long and stuff and everything. But it's enough to know that the fault of my childhood, which it's my childhood, is not my fault. And I mean, it's not supposed to be. I mean, yes, you have to be a responsible, child when you're growing up, but it's your parents' responsibility, And that's the reason whenever I found out that my kid had watched porn over at my parents' house, I literally cried probably worse than I did when my parents took my kid from me. Because I was supposed to stop her from seeing anything like that until she was older. And I didn't. And in all honesty, the only comfort that I found in the whole situation was the fact that my niece, who was a year younger, was the one that kind of led them down the path of being curious with their, what the hell, like, with the internet, and finding things out. And then, like, luckily, whenever I talk to my daughter and everything, like, she gets it. She gets responsibility. And that's the reason sometimes when me and her fight or argue, not fight, but when me and her argue, is she gets so mad at me. She gets so mad at me because she wants me to be more responsible than I am. But she doesn't understand how exhausted I am and how I'm trying to. But when I had to be so responsible for so much when I was so very fucking little, it just kind of fucks you up. It's like you just want to break to not have to be so fucking on top, like 100% responsible. And like even Jen, that's one of the qualities that she likes about me, is that I'm that responsible person. And then, oh my fucking God, my damn last job, well, not my last job, but the job before that I had and everything, it's like people love to throw off on you, if you're 5 minutes late. And it's like, but I'm the scapegoated one, so here's Bobby Joe and Susie Q and Peggy Lane, and Brian dipshit, if you will, or what the fuck ever, all these goddamn people that they come in late all the fucking time, all the fucking time. And it's okay because they do it, And that's just like even my, not my last job, but my job before getting hired back on. Everybody else has done quit or been fired for the most part, especially the white people. I ain't gonna lie. And probably the black people. And see, that's the thing, is the new GM Hispanic, and so the Hispanic people, stay, and everything. But all these other fucking people, that have dysfunctional shitting ass lives and they don't know how to cope, and sorry that I'm not Hispanic and that we don't have community the way that y'all do, that it's like, whatever y'all do to stay as grounded as you do, whether it's just sit in circles and smoke a bunch of pot to where you don't give a shit about nothing, or you go to church and you have this community, but we as white people don't have that. That doesn't exist. And so any fucking ways, like any fucking ways, because y'all don't get it. Y'all are so caught up in white people and race and all that y'all don't open your mind enough to see that yeah, there is differences in our lives, and there's some fucked up shit that we have to deal with too. It's not just y'all and the fucked up shit that y'all have to deal with. We have our own fucked up shit. There's a balance to life. There's good and bad in everything, and there's good and bad in being white. But so anyways, everybody else, all these white people, and like I said, probably black, to a degree or whatever, but especially the white people, they quit. They quit, they come back, and they get that leniency because they're the kiss asses, or whatever and stuff. And here I am, and I'm not the kiss ass, and so I quit. And after I quit once, I'm not allowed to come back because I'm the scapegoated child, and I'm the scapegoated person. And when I quit y'all's job, y'all think that is such an insult, and it's hurt your feelings so much, and I'm such a piece of shit for doing that to y'all. And yet, y'all don't see it from my standpoint that y'all are such a piece of shit for giving all these opportunities. And some of these people are teenagers that they work for pot money. That's all they work for, like literally, or for a car payment and pot money. And you let them quit 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 times and just keep coming back. And here I am, a single mother, stressed out, not had a license all this time, 30 years old, and just got my license. Never even drove my baby to the park by myself, ever. My baby's 12. And then my kid gets taken from me. And then I held on. I held on past that. I held on from December, when she was taken from me, all the way to October. I held on to the same job that I had had for a few months before she got taken from me, because I started working there, I believe, in September. And I held on from December to October, bringing my ass to work, doing my job, trying to put up with my family dysfunction that you know nothing about. Or if you do, you're a judgmental little prick about it, or you're busy making fun about it, or you don't care. And I'm putting up with that shit. And then I quit because I'm stressed out and I need a break. Because I'm fixing to lose my goddamn mind. And I haven't had a suicide attempt in over 5 years. And I'm really fucking proud of myself for that. And then even before that, I hadn't had a suicide attempt in 10 years. I believe it was, let's see, 20, yeah. Oh, not 10, let's see, how old was I well, 14. Let's see. I think. Anyways, it's been a long ass time. 2004. 2004 and 2014. Yeah, 10 years. And then people want to treat me like I'm some suicidal person that has sat here and tried suicide attempt after suicide attempt after suicide attempt. And even though my brain thinks of it when I'm really depressed sometimes. And so if you ask me and I'm honest as the day is long, I'll tell you that I've thought about it. But for as far as an actual attempt, it's been a really long ass time, and I wouldn't even had the one 5 years ago if I didn't feel so fucking trapped by my ex-husband, or my husband, should I say, because he refuses to divorce me. And what I mean by refuse is that he hasn't paid for it, and I haven't had the money to pay for it, and I've only been working 4 years out of my whole entire life. And then during that time, because my family's so dysfunctional, I'm trying to get my independence and take and raise my daughter. But I held on all that fucking time before I snapped up under the pressure. And then I didn't even snap up under the pressure because I'm not going to push myself to the point that I snap. I'm sorry that you would rather me keep coming to work and lose my goddamn mind, and then just go home and blow my brains out one day versus me just going, you know what? It's not worth it, and I'm tired of the stress, and I need a break. But that's what I did. I said, you know what? I'm tired of the stress. I need a break. So I quit my damn job. And then you won't hire me back. But you'll hire back the pothead that has called out to go to fucking Six Flags or to go hang out with their friends that has quit at least 2 damn times, if not 3. You'll hire them back. The same little white person, or even whatever race, it doesn't matter. But the white single mother that is trying to make it, that is having a hard time, y'all won't hire me back. It's okay, though. I'm not asking for pity, and I'm not asking to be hired back by no fucking means. At least not at this moment in time. Because now that even fucked me up, what y'all did to me. So it's just something else fucked up I get to carry around with me for the rest of my life. Knowing that y'all treated me like that. But yeah, so basically when you do shit like that to me, you're basically smacking me in the face is the best way to word it. And believe me, that's the way that it feels to me. And my mind has a damn good image of what the fuck it's like to be smacked in the face. Something that some of y'all, half of the population, doesn't even know what it feels like to have happen to them. I've been smacked in the face, I've been strangled, I have been pushed to the floor, I've been kicked to the floor, I've been kicked while on the floor, I've had my ass beat, I have had a belt taken from all the way down my backside. All the way down, from the tops of my shoulders to the backside of my knees. But don't feel sorry for me, because that's not why I'm making this video, and that's not why I'm talking about this in this video. It is not for sympathy, and it is not for pity, and if you think that it is, then you can kiss my ass and get in line and buy yourself a little pity party ticket and go sit and talk about how you might feel, and then if you're somebody that's done wrong to me, you can pity, oh, I didn't know. Well, I shouldn't have to beg for respect. I'm a human being just like you are. Sorry that you think that you're better than me and you think that I have to beg for your respect. And that's where you will find that I do not. I will not bow down to you. You are human. I'm human. You are my equal. I'm your equal. But anyways, it's just something else that I've lived through that's really irritating. But anyways, so the post-traumatic stress disorder, the PTSD, it's just like, I really wish it wasn't part of my life. But what do you do? I don't think anybody looks at something bad and says, But then the mind, not as a defense mechanism. But I do sit here, just like I've stated before, because I had one woman be like, I wish he was my kid, because I talked about how I've forgiven my dad. I'm just really angry that he will not ask for, forgiveness. He won't ask for it because he thinks he's done nothing wrong. And my other family members might slightly, but then they go and talk shit after they do it, because they don't really mean it. There's no genuine, I'm really sorry and will you please forgive me? There's none of that. Instead it's like, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, well, are you going to forgive me or not? And then it's like, yeah, I forgive you. And then it's like, okay, well, let's never talk about it again. And yet, if you do it again, I'm going to bring it up again. But, anyways.